I think the best way to understand and explain the injury that Jordan Spieth is dealing with is to hear it from Jordan, because it's not there all the time. It's when it pops out of place in that left wrist. Supposedly, he injured it back at the 2023 PGA Championship at Oak Hill, and now, all these months later, over a year, it has not healed. So let's start with Jordan being asked by a journalist, tell us about what's going on with the wrist. What does this mean?
My goal this week is to try to, move up as far as I can in the FedEx Cup and head into the playoffs with on a high note. I love the golf course. I think it's spectacular. You can't hide it. Can't hide your game. And I like the Bermuda. You got to think your way around it. You can't really miss above the hole out here. And then when you're on the greens, it requires a lot of precision and touch. So, with the forecast, we'll see how much what I'm saying matters. But, that's a bit kind of maybe unfortunate for the event, but everyone's going to have to deal with it. And then, maybe may make it a little bit more scoreable. So you change your mindset a little bit in that regard. But looks like the weekend will be beautiful. So hopefully we move along just fine, and hopefully forecast improves. I think, if you talk about like the weeks leading into a major, I've always voiced that the tournament's about the tournament, and the best you can play that week is the best that you can possibly prepare. The golf course next week requires similar. Around the greens, it's Zoysia next week, so it's a little bit different. This is a little more challenging. But as far as the heat, the other grass types, the way the greens putt, it's actually really, really similar. So I don't have to make like a lot of weird adjustments thinking about, like maybe you put in a 3-iron to get ready for the Open. There's no equipment adjustments or shot adjustments from this week into next. So it's kind of nice. You can really stay focused on just this event. And, I'm aware that, a win goes a long way, but so does playing good, consistent golf. Yeah, it's been a frustrating year because it's been maybe my best driving year ever. And then, the clubs that I make the most impact into the ground with, which are normally my bread and butter, have been, pretty off. And it's not hurting, but subconsciously it's hard not to look at the numbers and think this isn't a coincidence. So I've been taking trips out, as well as being in contact with a lot of doctors, getting it scanned again and trying to figure out what the next move is. And, I'm probably going to have to do something about it this off season. So I'm going to pretend nothing's happening, fully trust it, given that, I'll be able to get it fixed. And I know there's a lot of golfers that, have had similar situations and come back, better than ever. And I like to think, hopefully I have 10 to 15 years of, prime and some of my best golf left. So I'll be optimistic about the process, but I'm not quite sure exactly what I'll do and where I'll do it. But unfortunately, something kind of has to get done, and I've never experienced anything like this before. So just trying to take my time, making sure that things are done right and in the right time. I'm not in any pain playing. That's what's confusing. If I was, I wouldn't have played anymore. It's all off the golf course, weird little things where my tendon will kind of pop out, sublux or dislocate out of the groove, and then I got to get it back in, or else I wouldn't be able to grip a club. But if it was a problem at all, I'm not withdrawn from an event. It's a very weird scenario, and it's one that's been a little frustrating because I would have liked to have known this is the answer or this is the answer, and I've just had to figure it out.
How long have you been relatively pain-free?
Why, the whole time. I'm pain-free until it subluxes, and then I'm in very much pain until I get it back. It's like... there
was a time when you did have some wrist pain, right?
Sure. I've had the same hand. I've had a bone spur back in 2021, and it's not related to this issue. Okay. But this is pain when it happens, but it's not happening during my swing at all. But it it happened May of last year, October of last year, and then it happens like every other week or every week-ish at one point in time. So it's something that's, I don't think from what I understand, it it doesn't heal or get better. So it's more of a way of life decision, and because I don't have any when I'm hitting balls, I'm not thinking about it, I'm not worried about it, but I just don't know subconsciously how it's too tough to measure if it's not making a difference. But yeah, I have no pain excuses, or else there's no reason to play if you feel like you're going to play through pain or not be at your best.
Okay, so there's a lot of question marks raised with that. Jordan was talking about when it subluxes, and then he had that quote in there where he was talking about, well, here it happened here, then it happened there, and then he said, quoting, now it happens every other week or every week-ish, close quote. That doesn't sound good. We get that it's not healing, but it actually sounds like it's getting worse. Dom, what's the actual medical term for what's going on? And when you look it up, is it anything that you could kind of understand in terms of how it explains?
Yes to all of those things. I'm going to mispronounce this, but I will try. Extensor carpi ulnaris, the ECU, and then that's talking about the
Extensor
tendon and the
carpi.
instability in that.
Say it again.
Extensor. I mean, these are all like terms of, right? The extensor, like the part of your bones and stuff on the outside of your hand that you're looking at. If you look at the right-hand side of your screen, that image. And carpi, the carpal, like your fingers. Ulnaris, that's the ulnar bone right there. The ECU, so you can see like the green thing on the right running up along the arm. Up where it connects to the pinky finger is that tendon. And then if you look to the left, those two images there, that yellow thing is the same thing as the green thing on the right side of the hand. It's the tendon. And the heath, the little thing that holds that yellow tendon in place, is that little red square. That is what is damaged or torn or ripped off in Spieth's wrist. And when he rotates his arm, left or right or up or down, depending on how he does it and the pressure that he does it with, that yellow tendon will pop out of its groove, pop out of its place. And as he mentioned in the press conference that we just listened to, when that happens, that's when it's extremely painful and he's trying to pop it back into place. I don't know if he uses his hand or whatever. Now, something else that's really interesting about this is this is not an uncommon injury in golf. So I want to read something to you that might surprise you.
All right.
This is a rookie diary, and I'll tell you who this is in a second, from 2010. This is part of a Golf Week feature. I'm sure everyone knows by now, but just in case you haven't heard, I had wrist surgery on March 8th that effectively ended my rookie year on the PGA Tour. The surgery was done by this guy who also performed surgery on these people. The ECU tendon in my wrist was in subluxation, meaning it kept popping in and out of place. My injury was very similar to that of Luke Donald. He had his repaired about 2 years ago. So Luke Donald had this exact same injury. The wrist did not hurt all the time. It only hurt when I came through impact and had to rotate my left hand over, and that's when the tendon would pop out of place. This is literally what Jordan Spieth was just saying. I had to have shots. I was trying to get fixed. It didn't get fixed, et cetera, and then I needed to get surgery. As for the healing process, it will probably take, so this is after this person had the surgery.
Yeah.
As for the healing process, it will probably be 6 weeks with a splint or cast, and then 6 weeks of rehab. After those 6 weeks, I believe I will be able to start putting and then work my way up to chipping and then hitting full shots. We'll see how everything goes. I'm hoping before the end of the year I'll be able to play golf again. That person, Billy Horschel.
Wow. Who's in the field this week at the Wyndham Championship.
This is a thing that is overcomable. I mean, Billy Horschel has actually been playing some pretty good golf this year. And this was the surgery that he had 14 years ago.
Very interesting stuff. I have to tell you, though, that the name of the injury sounds very much like it's straight out of a Harry Potter film. It's like Extensor carpi armatus.
It's the name of the tendon, Matt. It's not the name of the injury.
To you, Dominic. All right, so we'll leave you with this, having had this discussion. Now that you just heard this ominous forecast, yet hopeful results, perhaps, for Jordan Spieth, where do we stand where do we stand with your question of the day, which basically was a very cruel
Is his
extensor
career
Carp
over
by
because of
Armadas
this?
question
62% are saying no. And then
No what?
22% are like, well, let's see how this wrist surgery goes.
All right, repeat the question again and give us the totals, please.
Is Jordan Spieth's career over? 16% say yes. 62% are saying no, he'll be fine. He'll figure it out.
I
And
bet that number's
22%
going
say
up
he'll
now.
figure it out depending on how that wrist surgery goes.
Well, yes. Thank you for that. That
Yes,
percentage.
There you go.
Celebration of the obvious choice.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. Well, extensor Carp by
I will
Armadas to
say
all
that
of you,
I am
and-
surprised about the Horschel stuff. I didn't know any of that. And that makes me kind of hopeful about Jordan. Like maybe
Yeah,
this isn't
that's
so
why
bad.
I
Maybe
figured
this
the
is no
numbers
big
were
deal.
changing, because we're talking about players that we know that have gone through it, and we know that they've gotten to the other side and they're seemingly okay. We don't know whether they've dealt with it for a year and a half and what kind of damage that has done. But it sounds to me like it's something that is, how did you phrase it? You made up your own medical term. I can't remember.
I
what you
made up
just
a
said.
medical term.
Yeah, it was good. Whatever
Just
you
now?
said, we'll have to play it back. Whatever you said
What
it,
are you
and I was
talking
like,
about?
when you were describing it just now, you used a term that I was like, is that even a real word? But it sounded medical-ish, so I'll go with it. That it seems
Whatever it
like
was,
it
I'm
could
sure
be
it was
real.
accurate.
It was what? It was very accurate.